He smiles at you, and something behind his eyes doesn't match. You can't name what's wrong, but your body already knows. This is the chronic liar, and today we dissect what made them. Not why they started lying, but why they cannot stop, even when it destroys everything they claim to love. Even when it destroys themselves. Stay until the end, because you've met this person before. First, let's separate the chronic liar from the ordinary kind. Everyone lies. Studies suggest 2 to 3 times per day on average. White lies, social lubrication, self-protection, normal, human, forgettable. But the chronic liar operates on an entirely different architecture. They lie when the truth would be easier. They lie when there's nothing to gain. They lie when getting caught is not just possible, but certain. They seem to lie because they cannot do otherwise. The psychiatric term is pseudologia fantastica, pathological lying. But labels don't explain the why, and the why is what haunts us. To understand, we must enter their interior world. A world built entirely of mirrors that face only inward. Here's what most people misunderstand about chronic liars. They're not lying to deceive you. They're lying to become themselves. Every lie is a brick in an identity they desperately need to exist. Because underneath the lies, they believe there's nothing worth seeing. The core wound of the chronic liar is a shattered sense of self, often originating in childhood, environments where truth was dangerous, where honesty led to punishment, rejection, or emotional annihilation. They learned that the real self gets hurt, but a performed self survives. And so lying became not a choice, but a survival mechanism. Here's where it becomes a trap they cannot escape. Each successful lie delivers a neurochemical reward. Dopamine floods the system, the same chemical triggered by gambling and drugs. They feel a rush when the lie lands, when the mask is believed. In that moment, they've proven something profound, that they can be whoever they need to be. And if they can be anyone, they never have to be the damaged person underneath. Now we've reached the midpoint, and here's where everything changes. Because lying doesn't just serve the chronic liar, it begins to change them. Neuroscience confirms that repeated deception physically alters the brain. The amygdala, our emotional alarm system, becomes progressively desensitized. The guilt that once accompanied lies fades to a whisper, then to silence. What's terrifying is this: the brain adapts to make lying effortless. The internal friction that stops most people from lying simply disappears. And here's the twist no one talks about. Eventually, the chronic liar can no longer tell which version of themselves is real. They've told so many stories, they've lost the plot of their own life. The fabrications blend with memories until truth becomes inaccessible. They are no longer lying, they are lost inside their own fiction. And from here, the destruction accelerates beyond their control. This is the point of no return. The first thing to crumble is always the relationships. People closest to chronic liars describe a specific type of betrayal. It's not just that they lied, it's that you can't trust your own perception anymore. You believed them, which means you can't trust your own judgment. The chronic liar leaves casualties who question their own sanity. But the liar doesn't escape unscathed. Maintaining the facade becomes exhausting full-time labor. They need to remember which lie they told to whom. The cognitive load grows until one day the system breaks down. Contradictions emerge that they can't explain away. The mask slips and people begin to see the fractures. What happens next follows a predictable, devastating pattern. First, they double down, creating bigger lies to cover the old ones. The lies become more elaborate, more risky, almost daring to be caught. Then comes the isolation as people exit their life one by one. Friends, family, colleagues all recognize something is fundamentally wrong. The chronic liar becomes a cautionary tale people share in whispers. And now we reach the moment the chronic liar faces themselves. Everything they built from lies lies in ruins around them. Reputation destroyed, relationships severed, career dismantled piece by piece. And here's the most haunting truth of all. Even now, they still can't stop. The neural pathways are too deep, the survival instinct too embedded. They will lie about why it fell apart, even to themselves. They will recast themselves as victims of everyone else's cruelty. The story must continue, because without it, they are nothing. And so the cycle begins again, with new targets, new stages, new lies. So what do we do with this understanding? Why does it matter? Perhaps you've recognized someone in this pattern, a friend who seemed too polished, a lover whose stories never quite fit, a family member who made you question your own memory. This video isn't about condemning them, it's about understanding the prison they built around themselves, and perhaps about asking an uncomfortable question. Have you ever felt the pull of becoming someone you invented? The comfort of a mask that fits better than your face? We all curate versions of ourselves, but few become prisoners of it. The chronic liar warns us what happens when performance replaces person, when we forget how to take off the mask at all. If you recognized someone today, protect yourself, but understand their prison. If you recognized yourself, there's still time before the neural highway is paved. The truth is harder than any lie, but it's the only ground that holds weight. Because the chronic liar teaches us one final, haunting lesson. You cannot build a life on a foundation that doesn't exist.